O Brazuca fudeu o braço de novo, cara. Agora tá tocando punheta com a mão esquerda.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the
Oh.
Talk. Yo. Of the Talking to the Dog Benfica podcast, episode number 190. On tonight's episode, we will look back at the Belenenses game. We'll have an extensive preview of the Porto game that comes up this Friday, and we'll also look up to Zenit, which comes up to Tuesday. Benfica's knockout round of the Champions League. I lost where I was there. I'm still laughing inside from what you were saying, Cristiano. With me tonight, Cristiano Oliveira. What's going on, garoto?
Cara, você tem que falar, tá fazendo record. You can't sneak up on me like that, man. I mean, that was all right. Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to the Benfica podcast. Thank you very much for joining us.
And also with us, Mario Mota.
Obrigado. Here I am. Thank you so much for having me on tonight.
And first time, but we've tried to get him on, Hugo Destapado from Mass. What's going on, Hugo?
What's going on, buddy? First time listener. I mean, first time on, long time listener.
That's good, man. We got another crew here, and we're hoping to have a good one. So let's get things started by looking at the Belenenses game. Benfica played the Belenenses this past Friday in a game that initiates perhaps a very difficult cycle for Benfica, especially the way the Belenenses had been playing, but quite an easy game for Benfica. I'll give you the lineup real quick. Júlio César, André Almeida, Lindelof, Jardel, Eliseu were across the back, Samaris and Sanches in the middle, Pizzi and Caetano on the wings, Jonas and Mitroglou. And Mario, and
Yep.
I'll go with you first. Any reservation before the game? Any reservations on Lindelof partnering up with Jardel?
A little bit, yeah, because you've seen him come on in some of the League Cup games and a bit of minutes off the bench, but you kind of get worried. Against Belenenses, you didn't think he was going to see much action, or you shouldn't see much action. But you know what? The guy did good. The kid's doing great. I think Porto's going to be a different game, but no, he's looking good, I think.
Yeah. What about you, Hugo? What did you think? Did you think that Rui Vitória should have tinkered a little bit more with the lineup? Maybe moved Almeida to center back, put Semedo at right back, and leave Lindelof on the bench?
No, I think he did the right thing with going with the youngster there. I think they've been getting the minutes out in the B, and they've been playing with the team. They've been practicing. I was more afraid if Feijó was there, that Samaris would have probably been the one he would have dropped back. I think that's something JJ probably would have definitely done regardless if Feijó was there. I don't think JJ would have definitely gone with him. But I think I agree with Mario. I think he did well. He looked pretty confident. Probably his most confident, I thought, in the past 3 games that he had played.
Yeah, I thought it was a long debate. Actually, on Twitter, people were debating on who the choice would be. And my thing is that, look, the kid's probably been working out at center back ever since Luizão got hurt. So even though he hasn't got many minutes, and on the limited minutes that he got, he did prove a little shaky. Now is the time to go. I agree with you, Hugo. Maybe JJ wouldn't have gone with the youth, but Vitória has got a whole different mentality. Cristiano.
Opa, the kid's been on the team since day one. I mean, they made a big thing about promoting these youngsters, and so it's about time he got thrown to the wolves. And I mean, he hasn't been great, but he hasn't been terrible either. So this is only going to benefit him, give him experience, and it's another option you have off the bench.
Yeah. So an okay half for Benfica. The first half, it wasn't perhaps the best half, but the thing that I'm seeing, Mario, is the team has become a very solid team with clear ideas in the style of game, and that's an improvement that we've seen throughout these weeks that the team has been playing without losing a game. Is that what you're seeing too?
Yeah, you're seeing that. I think it's confidence. I think they got a bit of a swagger going on. They feel like they're clicking along. You see, the thing I love about this team right now is when they're playing and they're scoring goals, they're not just beating their chest and saying, I did that. They're pointing at each other. You could tell that they got a good camaraderie going on. they're recognizing each other's efforts. They're egging each other on to push harder. It's such a positive vibe right now at the club, and it just, I don't know. I think it's the best time for us to go into this point of the year. Over a month ago, I was a little anxious, but hell, this run we're on is just building more and more confidence.
Hugo, what has been for you your feelings throughout the season as you've seen the team grow? I mean, you were with us in Connecticut to watch Benfica play against Fiorentina. Then you were with us at Red Bull Arena. You saw the team there. And in the beginning of the season, some stumbles. But what is your feeling about the growth of this team so far?
Yeah, no, I think it's been a roller coaster ride. In the beginning of the season, obviously they had that tight or that long preseason that with all that travel. Obviously, I don't think that Rui Vitoria's ideas were he didn't have enough time to install his ideas in there. I'm not saying he's probably the best coach yet. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I think with time and hard work, you're starting to see him being able to assimilate a lot of those ideas across the team. I think one of the things that stands out right now, and it's just the way that Pizzi's playing. I think he's really adding a lot of value to that team. Not just on the flank, but the way he plays. It presta sempre solto. He's on the outside. He pinches in.
Yeah.
He can get back to the box. Something I don't know if that's nice shirt. That was probably one of his biggest critics, especially after that first game against Aruca. He must have missed like every single pass. And I think he's done well, but again, I mean, we have Senor Jonas up top too. That he's him and Gaetano, just Senor. They don't belong in that league as much as they're out of this world compared to. So I think that helps as well. And then everybody else is just coming along. I mean, who would have thought when Luizão gets hurt that we basically kept going? We didn't miss a beat. But again, the other thing is, put the Putu. Ever since he's been in, they haven't lost a game.
Yeah, it's been quite an incredible resurgence by Benfica, and I think that we had Patrick Hendrick on the podcast right after Benfica. I think they tied or lost against Sporting, and Patrick just put it straight out. Benfica has to go on a run. Benfica has to go on a run if they want to be competitive, and I said the same thing. We have to be consistent. We have, regardless on whether we play bad or not, we have to bring some consistency and win some of these games if we want to be on top. And sure enough, we are now tied with Sporting, I should say. So it's a good result. Sporting tied. Benfica won this game convincingly, 5-0. One goal in the first half, which is really I don't know if Benfica did a lot in the first half to deserve the goal. The Gaetan did have a chance right in the beginning minutes where he could have put away. It's those chances that he usually puts away. But we go into the locker room winning 1-0, and really that kind of relaxes the team, I should say. But the team, to me, never really looked like they were struggling to get past Belenenses. I kind of had the feeling, and I don't know if it's because of the way the team's been playing, that they seem to be in control of the match. I don't know, Mario. I don't know if you had that same feeling as you were watching.
Oh, no, I know. I felt they had control. The one thing I got to give Belenenses credit for, and maybe it's because their form, I would say probably this past month, they actually have been playing quite well this past month. So they kind of came to this game. They tried giving us a good game. It wasn't that I don't know, I didn't feel they were parking the bus fully like you see some teams do when they visit us. And it made it exciting. It was a little bit back and forth. But once we cracked them open, it was over in the second half. But yeah, you know what? Going back to Pizzi, not to kind of go on that tangent, but yeah, no, I got this jersey after meeting him in the summer, and it was when we met you guys in Toronto. That time we joked about, it's a good player, but you just didn't see him coming to this level. He's really has stepped up a great level.
He's been a lot better. He's been a lot better ever since Renato came into the middle of the lineup and they switched him to the outside. Plays with a lot more freedom. You can tell he's comfortable. That's a position that he's accustomed to playing. He's played there throughout most of his career, so you could tell the guy's a lot more comfortable playing. But the other thing is, man, talk to me next week, man. Come on, everybody's all excited. Talk to me next week.
No, no, but I remember that podcast from I think it was sometime in December when you guys were saying things didn't look as good, and yeah, Benfica needed a good run, and even then you're thinking, even if they had a good run in January, Porto and Sporting aren't going to drop points, and everything's going right for us, and those guys, if they're getting a win, they're barely eking out the win, and they both look like they're struggling, and I think the way we're dominating games, if we come out, and not to get ahead of this conversation, but when we come out with Porto and we just dominate them, that'll send such an amazing message. But
Yeah. I thought at the time when we were having the conversation, I thought that Benfica was playing the worst out of the three.
And they were.
And visibly they were playing the worst out of the three. Sporting seemed very consistent. They seemed to be scoring. Porto wasn't allowing too many goals. Up until this point, Porto still has one of the best defenses in the league. So I really didn't see something major. What has happened? We were down 8 points at one point, and now we're tied for first. So I mean, it's a remarkable recuperation by Benfica, and the one thing is that consistency wins leagues, and so far, it's ever since we lost to Sporting back in November, we've been nothing but consistent throughout. So hopefully we're approaching a crucial time in the season. We're hoping that we can keep up that consistency, but just to finish up on the game, so Mitroglou, Janusz, and who else scored? Mitroglou 2, Janusz 2, Mitroglou 3, right?
Yeah, he got his first hat trick in a Benfica shirt.
And Jonas too. Yeah.
Cristiano, what do you attribute Mitroglou's resurgence? Do you think it was some of the pressure of Raul Jimenez?
I just think that he's gotten another player that's gotten a lot more comfortable with just playing time. I mean, at the beginning of the season, Benfica didn't know exactly what they had with him. Some people say he was overweight. He was missing some sitters. He wasn't performing to the level he's performing right now. And then you also had the new acquisition of Jimenez. People, and I think Vitória himself. No one really knew what you had in this type of player. So I think he was juggling the lineup. I think he was trying to share minutes and see which guy he was going to go with. Because he wanted both of these guys. He wanted to let the play speak for themselves rather than their reputations or what they've done in the past. And I think that Jimenez, being due to the fact that guys tropeça on his own feet, and Mitroglou, he does just put the ball in the back of the net. I think that's made him a lot more comfortable, and he's absolutely earned the starting spot. And right now he's shooing in their starting 11.
Yeah.
Can I add one point? I think Mitroglou also, I don't know, this is all rumors, but during that transfer window, there's talks of, maybe he'll sign for the club at the end of the season. And I don't know if maybe that gave him the passion to push harder, that, as a lone player, you never truly feel part of the team. You're there temporarily, but all of a sudden, this could be his permanent home because he hasn't had much success back in England, and maybe he's looking for some consistency and maybe gave them that extra drive to push harder. I don't know.
Yeah, he's also Ugo. He's also experienced the reality of a club that's really world class, that provides to their players all the conditions that they want. He's currently owned by a second division team in England.
Yeah, no, I think he had some minor injuries, if you guys recall, some toxinhos too. I think, and being such a big body, it probably takes him longer to recover and also to get back into his own rhythm. And you saw at one point, it seemed like when Jonas was playing with Jimenez too, it seemed like he was getting comfortable, but not to that level. I think him playing with Mitroglou allows Jonas now to be more solto and more of the Ginga stuff that he does.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought Jimenez, in a sense, gets a lot in the way because he tends to corre muito, Santinho.
Yeah.
Corre muito, but he also gets into other people's spaces. I think Mitroglou is more of a guy that holds those two sweepers, the center backs. Physical. He constantly 70 minutes. He's constantly holding those guys and beating them down physically. And over the long period, that's gonna help. People are gonna respect that, and he's gonna get some. He's a poacher. He's a poacher.
He's also a guy that could play with his back to the goal, which Jimenez
true.
can't, and therefore Jonas could play the 1-2s off of him, and they could create a lot more opportunities that Jimenez doesn't have the feet to do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
absolutely.
Both of you guys bring up great points. Cristiano, you with the fact that he plays with his back to the goal and allows Jonas to penetrate, and Ugu, the same deal. With Jimenez, Jimenez probably takes away some of the running space that Jonas could go into, and now all of a sudden Jonas could drop back, he could drop to the side, he could drop in between lines. So you got a different game in Jonas, and it does seem that the resurgence of Mitroglou has also helped Jonas in his game. Everybody
No,
agrees on that.
Absolutely.
Right. So, as I've said, 5-0 for Benfica. The Belenenses coach did say that he wasn't going to park the bus, that he was going to open. And, you got to give credit to these teams that play against Benfica, and they're not afraid to play their own style. I think that Belenenses has a very good team for the level that they're at. And, it's appreciated that a team like that doesn't just put 10 guys or 11 guys behind the ball.
I believe his exact words were, "I wouldn't even park the bus against Manchester United."
And
I don't know if
there
you're
you
talking
go.
about today's Manchester United or 10 years ago Manchester United, because, I mean, if you had to park the bus against today's Manchester United, you're in trouble.
Yeah. No, I agree. Big shout out to Mr. Steve Santos, who's watching us on his TV, holding his baby. And Mario, I'm hoping that your baby is going to make an appearance soon, also.
yeah, I could try to bring her down if she wakes up at some point.
Right. Well, we don't want to wake her up, because we know that we all appreciate those newborns when they sleep. Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
we're going to take a short break here for Nelson's halftime headlines, and we'll be right back. All right, and we're back for the second half of the Benfica podcast here live on YouTube and also on iTunes, available every Tuesday, every week. The best Benfica talk on the internet in English. And speaking of Benfica talk on the internet, Mario is a moderator over there at Planet Benfica forums. What's happening to Planet Benfica forums, Mario?
No, it's still kicking around. One thing I do find nowadays, and I think it's across the board of many sites, I think the popularity of Twitter, people being more on there and wanting instant news, you see less people engaging in conversations, but we still have some of our regulars. They love commenting. It's still a great place if you want to rant. Twitter only gives you so many characters. It's a nice place to dump a bunch of info. It's we got up the match thread for this upcoming weekend against Porto. A nice little motivational video that we saw on YouTube recently, and now looking forward to the game.
Yeah, Guilherme Cabral killing it as always with his most motivational videos. If you haven't seen his last one, I advise you to check that out. And I read a comment on Twitter that Guilherme Cabral can motivate the dead with his videos. And I have to agree, man. Those videos are something. I know that, Cristiano, you probably hadn't had a chance to watch it yet.
No, I haven't. I need to check that out. So send it to me on Twitter if anyone's listening right now.
I know you're busy. It's all over Twitter.
That guy knows how to pull up the purse strings. He loves putting that one clip of that clip of the Eusebio game. Every single time you tear up a bit when you see that clip. He uses it on almost all the videos nowadays.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Eusebio, man. Anyway, so let's turn our attention now to Benfica's next game. And some people, including I think probably most of us, will say that this is now going to get serious. We play Porto this coming Friday, 8:30 local at Stade de Luz. I'll give you some numbers. Porto is currently third. They're 6 points behind us from 14 wins, 4 ties, and 3 losses. Away, they have 6 wins, 2 ties, and 2 losses. They've scored 20 goals away and have allowed 9 goals away. Benfica at home, 33 goals scored and 7 allowed. In the first round, Benfica went to the Dragão and lost 1-0 in a game where we thought the team had behaved pretty well despite of what was going on at the time. The referee for this game is Artur Soares Dias. He was also the referee for the game in the first round, and from what I recall, he had a pretty good game. The last 5 games that both teams played at Stade de Luz, 3 wins for Benfica, 2 ties, and by the goal scoring of 10-5. 10 goals for Benfica, 5 to Porto. So, Cristiano, quite a remarkable record for Benfica the past 5 games at the Luz.
Yeah, all on the JJ, the Giant Killer. Listen, I'll say this.
Giant killer.
I believe this is the first time in history that Benfica are playing Porto at home this late in the season with a 6-point lead.
Okay.
I believe that's what I read.
You're right.
And I'll say this much. I don't recall, at least in my lifetime, man, maybe when I was younger, or maybe another year there too that I might have forgotten, but I don't recall the last time Benfica has gone into a game against Football Club de Porto with such a gigantic momentum in their favor and Porto backpedaling the other way. I don't recall a time that again, that I've seen this. So right now, I think Benfica, not just due to the fact that they're on a 11-game win streak, not due to the fact that they've been playing brilliantly of late against, like I said, nobodies, but nonetheless, still playing very well. They have the obligation to win this game, and like I said, it's the first time I recall in a long time that Benfica has the pressure squarely on their shoulders to win this game. And so I wonder how that's going to affect the team. I wonder how it's going to affect Porto, knowing that they have nothing to lose here, and just come to the start of the losing. Maybe will they just go gung-ho? Will they try to defend? Because Porto also knows if they lose this game, they're practically out of the title chase. So it's very, very interesting what's going to happen this week on Friday, coming up Friday. So, I mean, there's so many different scenarios you could look at here. But, again, I think Benfica has the pressure to win this game, and they should win this game because based on their form of late, Benfica should roll away with the 3 points.
Yeah, let's talk about Porto's moment. They did sack Lopetegui. I think Pizarro has now been in charge. For I want to say not more than 2 weeks. I want to say there's definitely something going on there that I can't really put my finger on it. I'm obviously not a Porto expert, nor do I expect you guys to be. But there's situations, especially this last game where they lost against the Roca, where you got Maicon, with the captain of the team, just walking off, just turning his back on the team and walking off. You got Brahimi, who was substituted, and just handed his jacket and then just throws his jacket, disgusted. So, I mean, there's something here. And Pizarro is not necessarily known for being a guy that's tough on men. Especially from his Sporting years, there was a lot of problems in the locker room. There was guys that kind of revolted against him because he tends to be a softie. But Hugo, I'll start with you. What do you think of this Porto moment? Do you think that Porto is kind of like a wounded animal now, and they're going to react against Benfica?
I don't know about the react part. I think there's a lot of moving parts that are going around there, and probably a lot of them internal. I think there's a power struggle going on. I think a lot of people are starting to see that, Pintinho is numbers are coming up. You see Vitor Bahia feuding with Pintinho's 20-year-old Viagra girlfriend, whatever you want to call her. You got Antero Henrique, people making comments that if it wasn't for Antero Henrique, that Lopetegui would still probably be there. And then to your point, as you said, Pizarro is not known as a disciplinary. He's always had issues. So I just think there's a lot of moving parts there. Honestly, I think how do you say it in Portuguese? A teta já tá seca também. There's so many problems there, guys. I really do. They're hiding it well. They've hid it well actually for a long time, and I think it's starting to come to the top. And now you're seeing those attitudes of the players, whereas before, those players were still getting paid. Now it's who knows. I question. What was that guy? What was it? Osvaldo?
Osvaldo.
Yeah, he didn't leave, guys, for no reason. He left. There was a rumor saying that he wasn't leaving Porto until they paid him his back checks. So there's a lot. Again, those are all rumors, but, quando fuma fogo, those type of things. So there's a lot going on there. I think they're going through the same thing that Benfica went on about 10, 12 years ago. They just keep their act together. They want to be players. Going forward in these next 3-4 years. I just think there's a lot.
Yeah, Mario, and Porto, like Hugo's just touched up on it, Porto is far from an image of stability where they pretty much have everything locked in. The club's secrets are not being out watched in a public place. Everybody is very quiet. There's nobody now. You got Maicon's wife talking about the medical staff. You got Maicon's brother talking about it, medical staff. All stuff that never really happened at Porto. So we're seeing a Porto here that's in shambles, and perhaps Hugo touches up on a great point. There's a power struggle from within, because a lot of people have seen that Pinto da Costa's time, or you should say he's on a decline right now, and perhaps that power struggle where people are moving to take over that power is not bringing Porto that stability that they've been known for.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything Ugu said. I think it was last season there was articles coming out about how Pinto da Costa was his health was not doing as well. Everyone knows that he's on his way out one way or another. It's truly a story of like trading places. We weren't looking that good at the beginning of the season. They were clear favorites, and then come January, we've been on this hot streak. They've had 10 games. They've won 4. They've drawn 1. They've lost 5. I think their new manager is actually, I think he's had already like 3 or 4 games. I think he's had a few extras. I remember the Guimarães game. You had Andre got subbed off in the middle of the game, went onto the bench, and was crying. It was a babbling brook. He was just bawling his eyes out. It was only 1-0. Like, their head is not right. You can see their players. Everything's just in shambles. You can see how they look at each other. You can see how you can even see Casillas, a guy that's very seasoned. He's a leader at Real Madrid. He's just a born leader. And he's like staring at these players like, what the hell are you guys doing? Like, you could tell that they are, which is great. Like Chris was saying earlier, I can't recall a time when Benfica's on such a high, and at this point in the season, with Porto falling apart this much. We've had years where it's the opposite end, where everything's going wrong for us, and we have like a straight month of pure garbage, and then those guys get to come in and just really kick us in the nuts, where, this is our year to really go in there and just, jam their faces in the ground for once, and I'm looking forward to this game.
Yeah. Cristiano, what is your feeling about the moment that Porto is going through, and the timing of this game? You've already mentioned that they're going to play with their backs against the wall. If they lose, they'll be 9 points off the lead, and I think that's pretty much sayonara for them. But what do you think?
I think it's going to be very tough for them, and not just the Benfica game, like you just mentioned. They lose, they're out of the title chase. They play Borussia Dortmund right after that for Liga Europa. I mean, it could be a very, very ugly week here for Futebol Clube de Porto, not just in Portugal, but obviously for their European aspirations. This is a team that over the last 10, 15 years, everyone they've gone out and poached away from other teams has come in, settled, and has done nothing but become stars, and they've all played well. And right now they've hit and missed on more guys than they've missed on more guys than they've hit lately. And you can see this is a team that's going through some turmoil. This is a team that these guys aren't used to losing, and now they're going through some controversy. And you can tell, man, players don't like losing. They hate this type of situation that they're going through. So it's going to be very tough, man. You hear about like Hugo mentioned earlier, the power struggle going on in the office between the Vitor Barrigas and the Pintinho and his son and whomever else is involved here. I mean, there's so much going on behind the scenes that we're probably not even aware of, and that all translates, and that all tumbles down to the locker room and to the players, because they're all aware of what's going on around them. You mentioned the BS going around with Maicon and his wife. To me, that's something that who the hell is his wife, man? Stay out of it. You know what I'm saying? Don't even comment. And so all these little things affect the club, man. And so I think Porto is either going to come out, put up a fight, like we have nothing to lose, balls against the wall, and let's just go forward and do what we have to do, or they're going to cave in under the pressure, and Benfica is just going to come away with the easy 3 points. And I think Benfica will be motivated because, like I've mentioned, this is the first time in a long time that Benfica could kind of nail that hammer that nail in the coffin, nail it shut. You know what I'm saying? So I think Benfica players will be up for that as well, because Porto's put them, not these players, but at least the club, put them through hell for a very long time now.
Yeah, and now turning our, on the other side of the coin, Benfica, of course, this is a real test for Benfica. We've all been saying the team is playing well, and Cristiano has kind of held his judgments until we start playing some meaningful games. And here's a meaningful game for us. But we come into this game super confident. 11 straight wins, 13 games without losing a game. Last loss was against Atletico for the Champions League, and kind of like a game that was in a way meaningless for Benfica, if you want to say. The last loss domestically was against Sporting on November 21st for the Portuguese Cup, and where we lost in penalties. We're extremely confident. How do you, Cristiano, and I'll go with you first, how do you feel Benfica is going to fit into this match, especially if Porto decides to take an approach of a gung-ho approach? Do you think that's going to play into Benfica's strengths?
It will, because Benfica has shown that they have the players to counter anybody, and in particular any team in the Portuguese league. Well, I shouldn't say any team in the Portuguese because they couldn't handle Sporting, but at least the Porto, the way that Porto's been playing of late, Benfica is the team playing at home. They can just sit back, you know how it is, primeiros 15 minutos após pardais, see what Porto is about, and then do their thing. I think Benfica has the players to make a difference. And right now, just based on form of late, Benfica, they're hitting on all cylinders, man. Porto's going to take a lot. And I hope I'm not wrong, because I don't want to be sitting here next week eating crow. But, it's going to take a lot for Porto to come away and do anything positive against this Benfica team, just based on their form of late.
Hugo, what are your feelings on this game?
Yeah, I agree, guys. I think I'm very confident, and I'm usually the pessimist out of all my friends around here. Or very, I want to say the word pessimist, more reserved when it comes to these things. But I think we're just are high right now. And the way we're playing, I think from back to front to middle, the way we can play a really controlled game. As Cristiano said, the first 15 minutes are going to be very dangerous. And now let's get one thing straight. Doesn't matter who's in the best form when it comes to Clásicos and
no.
Yeah, good point.
It's one of those games that it doesn't matter who's in the best form. So let's make sure we keep that in mind, because we're riding high, and we have every reason to be confident right now. I still think we're going to pull out a win, and that's usually not my type of prediction, to be honest with you. But again, I just think there's a lot going on. I think if we hold in the first 15 minutes, I thought we played them well at the ground too. We're a little bit unlucky in the 86th minute or whatever it was. So I think we got this. But again, we have to make sure we're a little bit humble, our feet are on the show, and we'll see. We'll let them do their job on the field, and we'll see what goes from there.
Mario, feelings?
One thing I really like right now is there's sometimes a vibe you have about a team, whether they score very early on and then just ride out for the win. And in the case of Benfica right now, it feels like the past few games, they do okay in the first half, not great. I find their best play is in the second half. So if the game starts slow, if we give Porto some time to feel them out, and let's say first half ends at 0-0, I'll still be feeling good going into the second half, because that tends to be where the goals are coming from right now. And even though it's a different team versus the clubs we've been facing lately in terms of talent and competition, yes, it's a Clásico. When you're averaging, I don't know what the past few weeks has been, 4 goals a game or so, you're bound to score some goals at this rate. And
different competition, also different opponents, I should say, Mario.
Yeah. It's different opponents, but you go from scoring 4 or 5 goals, you face a tougher opponent, maybe you score 2 goals. The only thing I'm a little bit nervous about is we're still likely going to have the injuries in the back, so Lindelof is very highly, the likelihood for him to play. So it's good that he played last week, because he has to play today. At least he's had a bit more minutes under his belt. And I think really for us, we have to take the game to Porto. If we keep the game in their half, we have the best forwards right now in the league. We have the best midfield right now attacking in the league. We'll control it. I just hope that it doesn't turn around the other way, because with some of the youth we have, and Eliseo and some of the other guys, sometimes they can make a few mistakes. And I think
too.
Yeah, no, but I honestly think that we're looking good for this game. We just have to take the game to them. No mercy. Just take the game to them. Keep the pressure. Even if they score a goal on us early on, just keep attacking. I think they'll crumble. With the way their psyche is, their mentality is, I don't think these guys can hold up. I personally think it'll be one of those games where it's a 3-0 or 3-1 type game for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the word on Lisandro? I'm sorry, Alfredo. I'm sorry.
Lisandro is game time decision, from what I understand. If the game was tomorrow, he wouldn't play. But
Yeah.
Benfica still hopes. I mean, tomorrow will be Wednesday. The game's on Friday. We're hoping that we could get Lisandro. But at this point, are you guys confident that that Lindelof can do the job?
Epá, contra os mancos dos avançados do Porto hoje em dia, I mean, doesn't take much. But no, I'm not. I mean, listen, like we mentioned at the beginning of the pod here, he's played decent over the week. I don't think it's been enough of a test to sit here and say, all right, this kid definitely belongs at this level. Not saying that he eventually will not belong at this level, but right now, I don't think we've seen enough to judge one way or the other.
But it did serve as a boost of confidence for him.
Oh, absolutely.
Somebody who was ultra hesitant and knew that there was a lot of pressure on him, especially playing at playing the Belenenses with where it was basically another mini Stade de Luz. There was a lot of pressure, and you know that the eyes were going to be on him to expect him to be the weakest link on this team, and he actually did well. So I'm hoping that his confidence can only be at a high right now, and he can improve on his performance against Belenenses, which wasn't bad, I think. So we'll just have to see. And I don't want to do predictions because I think that at this point I think they're pointless. But I do think that and I think you guys all agree that Benfica is going through their best moment right now. They're very confident. But as one of you guys said, it's a Clásico. It doesn't really matter who's on the up and up, because the Clásico, everything goes out the door. And I think that Porto right now, it's going to be a huge telling sign of where this Porto team is. I think that if this Porto team decides that they're gonna fight it out and there's still some hope for them, they're gonna send a message to their fan base, and I think it's a great opportunity for them to send a message to their fan base that they're still in this thing, whether or not they have the capability of beating Benfica, a very confident Benfica playing at Stade de Luz in a stadium that most likely will be sold out, filled with Benfiquistas. That remains to be seen, but I think that there's a lot to see what Porto's response is going to be, and whether we're going to see whether Porto's going to be in this fight to the end or not, or if they're just going to let us go.
One thing's for sure, bro. We know that right now, as this moment, as we speak, Pintinho is putting poison in these guys' food and breakfast and energy drinks because he wants the rage and he wants these guys to come into this game con raiva, pa, con raiva. He wants to get these guys going because there's nothing more than Pintinho loves and wants than a victory against Benfica. So I mean, these guys are gonna be up for it. I just think that right now, all things point to a Benfica victory. And like Hugo mentioned, man, I'm usually the one that's, I'm either 5-0 or like Benfica about nada contra Monks. You know what I mean? I'm one way. I'm not too in the middle. Right now, I'm being kind of a little bit too optimistic, but I'm just going based off of my gut feeling and off of what I've watched. Porto has struggled against anybody they've played lately, and so many question marks going into this game with the coaching staff and everything else. I mean, all this is running through the players' minds, even though going into a Clásico, you don't know what to expect. But that being said, I still expect Benfica to come away with it. I mean, I don't recall the last time I said Benfica is going to beat Porto.
Yeah, and I think that we're all confident. Ooh.
Just a quick point. I think it's going to be very interesting, to be honest with you guys, to see the duel, the match between Mini Maxi now, and Gaetan. That's going to be very interesting because the first game, Mini Maxi kind of neutralized them, but the other aspect of that is Jonas and hopefully Mitroglou. Hopefully he doesn't tinker with that duel. Against the center backs of Porto. Center backs of Porto are not that good, guys. Especially now that Mike Owen has gone to. And even him, I'm not a big fan of Mike Owen. I think he's more of a Forza type guy. So those two duels, I think, are going to be very interesting to see. And they'll actually probably decide the game. And I think everybody else is pretty much matched up if you think about it. Brahimi's against the Pizzis, or right back and left backs. Layun, first, Opsiku. Danilo, that's pretty much even, but I think those two are a very interesting match.
I'll say this, and you guys all know from listening to the pod how I feel about Jonas. My boy Pistolas needs to show up this week. He needs to show up in a big game, and he has to play well against Football Club Porto. I don't want no excuses. You know, basically keep it nice, sweet, and short. He has to show up this week.
Well, he usually does show up, Chris.
Big games.
Yeah. What are the odds that Pig's head gets thrown onto the field next to Maxi Preda?
I would love that. I would absolutely love that.
Would that be excellent or what? I think that they have something special planned for him.
Yeah, this guy, honestly, like he went off to Porto as if it's a sinking ship. We think JJ's leaving, we're not going to go anywhere, our high days are done, and he's going to go over to Porto where they're going to win a typical season. And I love that he went there, and they're a disaster. Blame fate.
Yeah, well, I think that just to finish up on this, I think we're all confident that Benfica's chances against Porto, which is probably something that we haven't been able to say that much, and I agree with Cristiano when he said that. But we'll see. Like I said, different Clásicos are different games. So we'll see what happens, but I'm confident that Benfica will win. So, turning our attention now to the Champions League.
Predictions.
Predictions, man. Vai lá, começa contigo então, vai lá.
I'm going to pull a Neil. 5-0, pá. 5-0. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I love it.
2-0, man. 2-0.
2-0.
Yeah,
Que marca?
And Peggy, by the way, has made his prediction for the game. I don't know if he wants me to give it away, but you know what, Peggy, if you listen, I'm going to give it away anyway. Peggy also predicted a 2-0 score. He did not mention the goal scorers. But I'm going to go with Mitroglou and Popsicle.
Hugo.
You talk. I agree. I'm gonna go with the 2-0, guys. But I'm gonna go. You know what? I'm gonna go. I think Jonas is gonna step up this game. I think Jonas gets one, and I'll go with the Grego. Mitroglou.
Mario.
I'm gonna go 3-1. The two guys, Jonas and Mitroglou. You know what? Little Renat Sanch. That'd be an amazing goal for him to get against Porto.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's gonna get it, but that'd be outstanding for the highlight reel.
Yeah, I'm going with the 1-0 from one goal from Jonas, but in the back of my mind, and I don't want to be a negative Nelly, but I'm kind of seeing this as a tie, playing out as a tie. I don't know why. It's just a bad feeling that I have in the back of my mind. But I think that Benfica is confident enough, is playing well enough that they could get past this Porto team. But I'm a little hesitant because I don't know which Porto team is going to show up. Is it the one where these guys are just ready to abandon ship, or is it the one where they're going to respond and they're going to do this on their own? So we'll have to see what happens. Anything else?
You guys could all hit me up on Twitter, 10CO10 on Saturday after Pop 6 scores a golaço.
Left foot or right foot?
Left foot. Right foot é só para o gajo não cair para o lado.
Yeah. All right, so we'll just have to see. All right, turning our attention to Benfica's Champions League game against Zenit that comes up this Tuesday at Stadio de Luz, 7:45 local, as all our Champions League games are. Benfica plays Zenit to St. Petersburg, as I've said. Zenit won Group H of the group stages with 15 points. They played Ghent from Belgium, Valencia and Lyon in the group stage, and they qualified first. Ghent qualified second. 5 wins, 1 loss. Their forward Ziuba scored 6 goals. I think he's the third best scorer in the Champions League competition, behind Ronaldo and somebody else. The biggest thing that we talked about on this Zenit was the fact that they were going to be on winter break, and actually Zenit played their last competitive game on December 9th and against Genk.
They've ironically been practicing in Portugal. They've had
match day 6.
They've had their kind of boot camp, their training camp here for the second half of the season in Portugal over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, they were in Dubai where they played 2 friendlies, one on January 17th against Leki Uyuia. They won 4-0.
I have their jersey.
And El Jaisam won 2-1. They won both games. So, I mean, it's very different coming from a preseason and playing a team that's kind of hitting on all cylinders like Benfica is. So I think that Benfica has the advantage on that angle, and also the reason Benfica's playing home, that's also another reason. But nonetheless, Zenit is a team that's that's chock full of talent, guys that we know: Javi Garcia, Garay,
Witzel.
Hulk, Witzel.
Well, Hulk, man, mention you. I'm glad you mentioned Hulk because I was waiting to get in here. There's all these rumors that the Chinese are going. I mean, not that's not a rumor. The Chinese are going nuts, but there's these rumors that the Chinese are willing to offer like $80 million for this guy. They've made multiple offers to Zenit for Hulk. And my thing is, can they sell him before Tuesday, man? I mean, I really appreciate that. Can they accept that offer already?
What's going on with the Chinese, man? Well, where's all this money coming from?
They got money. They got money, and they want to spend it. And rather than growing the game by leaps and bounds, they just want to, go full throttle and try to get every single player that they can. I mean, they brought in Alex Teixeira. You heard Lavetzi's going in, Ramirez. Make sure more guys.
Lima.
They brought in. I mean, man, what's the dude from?
Not Lima. Jackson Martinez.
Jackson Martinez. Yeah, they brought in
a
bunch of guys. The guy right now from Rome, Roma. He came from Arsenal. Gervinho. They've had so many players. They've invested so much money in so many players. It's kind of exciting to see. I mean, if I was Chinese, I'd be excited to see these guys come in. But just like Tim Cahill said, it's only a matter of time before these guys realize they're living in China, and their living conditions are a lot more important than their wallets. So we'll see what happens, but it should be fun for that league. And we're not here to talk about the Chinese football. We're here to talk about Benfica and the Champions League opponent Zenit. But my only point is, can they accept that offer already? I mean, because say what you want about Zenit, they have a nice roster, but Hulk, he makes that whole thing go.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to go to.
Well, he came from there. Don't forget, Porto got him from there.
It did come from there.
Japan.
I don't know.
Was it Japan?
Yeah,
China, Japan, they all look alike. Same thing.
And from that's fucked up.
Yo, watch your language, bro.
And from what I see, now I lost my train of thought.
Arroz con pau.
I was hoping that I know that we have a fan that is from China, Emma, that we all know. She has Chinese background. I was hoping that she could tell us what's going on in China, where all this money is coming from.
Bro, Chinese, bro, they're very rich people. I mean, they have a lot of poverty, but they're very rich.
Yeah, they're all over the place. They're buying up real estate left and right.
All those fake Gucci belts you buy and stuff like that all come from China. The fake Levi's, everything's coming from China. Everything.
They own the Portuguese electric company, National Electric Company. I think they own that, EDP. I also read in the paper that they're getting into insurance in Portugal. Them and the Americans are getting into insurance in Portugal. So that money's coming from somewhere. There's money
from the Americans, baby. The Americans are the one country that gives them the most money.
Yeah.
The amount of billionaires that popped in the past 10 years in China, they're basically right now turning to the MLS on steroids. No salary cap and just signing players like crazy. They have that sponsorship deal with the second division in Portugal, where I think they have to play 10 Chinese players now in the second division.
Did that go through? I don't think that went through. I know the sponsorship deal went through, but as far as the having 3 players or whatever it was, or 10 players on 10 teams or whatever it was, I don't think that the Portuguese Player Association, I don't think that they agreed to that.
No, that hasn't gone through. The deal is definitely inked. But as far as the conditions, I don't think they came to an agreement yet.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. I think that 10-player thing got shut down. I just want to make a point about that whole the Chinese league. I think one thing we're neglecting, we keep talking about billionaires and all this money, but I think the reason why they're growing so much too is also their middle class is getting a lot bigger. They're getting more attendance, more TV revenue, and more people are watching. So that's another reason why that's happening as well. But again, I think that's short term, guys.
Yeah.
It's not short term. As long as you got the bankroll, bro, you can extend things. So I don't think it's short term. And I'll tell you this much: they're gonna invest as much as anyone. They have top facilities. They have promotion and relegation too. That's the thing to think about, which the MLS does, and the MLS has stupid salary. If the MLS were to get rid of all those, the salary cap and everything else holding them back, I think the MLS would take a huge jump as well. But That's another conversation for another day, man. Let's get back to Zenit.
Yeah. All right. I think that if Benfica win against Porto and they build up on the momentum that they carry into the game against Porto, Benfica may very well get a good result against Zenit at home, and then just go close it out the way that the Vitória teams can. And I think that's something that I've enjoyed watching. Throughout this evolution of this Benfica team is the fact that they control games. And I think they may very well be able to go to Zenit after a positive result in Lisbon and be able to hold them off and to control the game. But that's something still in the future that we can get into. I should also say, and I'll say this before we sign off, that next week we will be back on Wednesday, so we could properly watch the Zenit game and we could discuss it on Wednesday with you, so not the usual podcast day on Tuesday. I think that's it. Are you guys anything else anything else for the Zenit game before we get into some Twitter questions?
Yeah, I could toss out a couple things real quickly. The first one, actually, I want to give a shout out. There's a guy on, he doesn't tweet very often, but Mikos, it's on Twitter. He's a regular guy on the forums. He's a Russian that lives out in Russia, runs a Benfica website all in Russian. And he hasn't done it yet, but usually anytime we face Zenit, which we've been doing a lot over the past several years, or a Russian team, he usually writes up a little blurb on how they've been doing. He hasn't done it quite at this point, but it's at MIKLOS20D on Twitter. If you give him a shout. But Zenit, the one thing I wanted to highlight is for the past several years, they've been either winning their league or very close. And I was just taking a look at the standings, and I don't know how much this is worth information, but they're sixth in their league. It's still pretty tight on points, but with the break, I'm feeling very confident going into this Champions League match versus how we were when we first drew back in the fall.
All right, das vidanya. Let's get on that. We need that blurb. Pronto. I don't know any Russian. That's all I know. Cristiano, you know any Russian?
That's Polish. Never mind.
You know any Russian, Cristiano?
Know a couple of Russians.
Hey.
Good looking ones.
All right. Twitter question. We'll start the first one that from Peter 1678. He's got a shot here, a picture that Seek ran a poll that basically the question is the recuperation that Benfica has done is due to what? And the poll was the answers for the poll were Rui Vitória, the structure, the team, mistakes from Sporting, very little from Porto, and the refereeing. So those were the choices, and I think the top choice was the structure with 30% and Rui Vitória with 29%. What do you guys think on that, Mario?
Yeah, I got to give credit to Rui Vitória. He has these guys playing well. He's doing fantastic, and also a secondary to the fact that Porto's completely collapsed and Sporting's been dropping points. It's kind of adding to the momentum. The team wins and those guys drop points. It gives you a bigger incentive to keep fighting.
You've been a Vitória fanboy since day one, so I gotta give it to you, Mario. You know what? You stuck by his side. You love him?
I love that guy, man. He got a coach named Victory. Come on, if we win the title, that's friggin' sweet.
we have a coach named Vitória. We got an eagle named Vitória.
Exactly,
and we got a guy on loan named Vitória.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not alone. He's back now. He's training with Carrillo at the Praia.
So to me, Pedro, I think that is a combination of the structure in Vitória. I think the structure was able to provide Vitória stability when it was being contested by a lot of people, ourselves included. And I think that the structure hung in there with him, and we're seeing what he's capable of. But as Cristiano says, we haven't really played any meaningful games against meaningful opposition. So now is perhaps the biggest test that Vitória faces is within this next 3-4 weeks, where we play Porto, we play Zenit, we play Sporting. We also travel to Passos Ferreira. That's going to be a huge test for Vitória and what he's done with this team. So I think that both the Rui Vitória and the structure should probably share some of the credits on that. Cristiano, this is for you. For Meg, are there any weak points we should worry about in our game versus Porto?
Yes, the outside backs, both of them. And I know I'm picking a little bit here on my boy Popsicle, but see what Brahimi against him was. I give the advantage to Porto. Not sold on Andre Almeida, and also I should mention the kid, Lindelof. I mean, I think those will be the weak points that Benfica needs to be very focused on and making sure that no mishaps happen over there.
Hugo, what do you think some of our weak points are?
I agree. I think our backs are a little bit suspect there. I think one of the things that with Almeida and there's just no, he doesn't come up as much, which maybe that's by plan, obviously. But there's no attacking, there's no depth there right now as much as there would have been with Nelson or Bobby Maxey, let's say, if he was there. So that's probably, I agree. I think that's probably our weak right now, especially with Lindelof in the back, as much as I hope he does well. But
yeah, Mario, what do you think some of our weaknesses are?
Actually, I agree with Chris. I think our fullbacks, they can be exposed. I think if we're going to Lindelof, if they're exposed and Lindelof makes a couple of mistakes, you can get them get nervous. But that'd probably be our biggest weakness there with some of the injuries we've also had. But at the same time, we got some interesting guys. I'm actually curious with that kid from the Barcelona B. I was hoping he'd get a few more minutes. At this point, he hasn't. But it's still at Grimaldo, or whatever his name was. Grimaldo, that's it. I butchered the name. I haven't know him yet. But yeah, no, that's the one area I do get nervous about. And as long as we keep it on the offense, we're great. But yeah, this is a different section of the year we're going into where we're going to be facing tougher teams that can probably bring the game more to us and probably could pin us back for a bit. So it'll be a great test for a team. If we can make it past this month here, I think this is great.
Yeah. Any of you guys share the opinion that Andre Almeida's game has raised ever since Nelson Semedo got healthy?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's worried he's going to lose his spot, so he's fighting, which is great. You need that competition in a club.
Yeah. Cristiano, here's a comment from João Gomes, and what's your take on it? Today, it's actually came out news report that Benfica refused an 18 million offer from CSKA for Carrillo, and now Benfica supposedly has a 30 million offer from Napoli for Carrillo. What do you think, Chris?
I think it's just BS stories trying to sell papers.
Well,
if it's real, take it. Take the 30 million.
From what I understand, I don't know about the 30 million, but I think it was either 18 or 17 million. It has some kind of there's truth to that.
Oh, well, if there's truth to that, man, I don't know. We touched on this last week, man. It depends on what exactly their plans are for the future. We don't know if Gaetan's gonna stay. We don't know what's up with Salvio. We just don't know what it is in Benfica's plans going forward. So I'm pretty sure they have a plan and they know exactly what it is for next season. And maybe they just think this guy's gonna be the future and he can give them a lot more. Now, 30 million. Yeah, I mean, considering a guy that's never even played a minute or put on a shirt, yeah, I'd definitely accept that for a guy like Carrillo. But again, I think that $30 million, I think that's all BS.
Yeah, I think 30 million is too much, but the 17 may have very well been there. Matthew Da Silva, Salvia has been training with the team. Do you think he may be a surprise for the Porto game? No way. No way.
Nope.
He's still got a little bit. He's still got a little bit to go. And Emma, thank you for chiming in, Emma. She's saying that the sponsors of those clubs do have the money, and we're talking about the clubs from China as we were discussing earlier.
And I'm glad you brought up. I'm glad you brought up Emma, because I see that Neil got his panties in a bundle. He's a little bit upset. So Emma and anyone else listens to the pod from Japan and China and Korea and wherever else that guys come from. I do apologize, tongue in cheek. There's just a silly attempt on my part to inject some humor into the pod. I didn't mean to offend or disrespect anyone. With that being said, I'm pretty sure it's not the first time you guys heard it, so I do apologize though.
Yeah. No, it's all done in good fun. It's not to offend anybody or look down or talk down to any race, because we love all races, especially if you're a Benfiquista. Now, if you're not a Benfiquista, that's a different story. But if you're a Benfiquista, No, you're like family to all of us. So anyway, I think that's all I have. Do you guys want to add anything else?
Yeah, Neil brings up a good point. Finally. Um, Nelson Oliveira. I mean, he's performing well in the championship. Over there in the championship, second division in England. Is this a guy that Benfica will be looking to bring back next season?
Yeah, well, we'll take a look. Well, definitely. Well, it's already been said that he's going to return. That was on today's ball. I don't know if there was official word from the club or not, but he will be back. And I think that that Meg had a question in regards that if we buy Mitroglou, what do we do with Jimenez? I think at this point we owe Jimenez for a lot of money. We're probably gonna, I don't know. We're probably another shady deal with Atletico to have Jimenez go somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, word is we bought 50% of his rights for 9 million euros. So yeah, I mean we could loan him out, and hopefully the guy will score some goals. Someone else will come interested. I mean, we're sitting here talking about the Chinese league and how these owners have money. The Mexican league, these guys have money as well. So hopefully, he'll generate some interest and score some goals, and someone in America will want him back. So let's see what happens. I don't know, man. He needs to improve a lot. I don't know.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, you can't. I don't think you should get rid of him, though. You need a third option. Right? You can't just rely on two strikers that are your main guys.
Well, considering the money we spent for him, you can't get rid of him. You're stuck with him.
Yeah,
basically.
you keep him.
I'm still not really sure if I'm sold on Nelson. I think he had the talent. I think it's mainly all in the Capsinha and the work rate.
Yeah.
But then again, is there that much difference between Nelson and what Rui Fuentes has been doing lately? I don't know.
You got a great point, man. And, this is great for Nelson. I think it's great for him to build up his confidence and to arrive at camp, hopefully at preseason, and have a chip on his shoulder and have something to prove to Rui Vitória. That's where you're at. You got to prove with your actions on the training pitch as well as on the field. Names don't play at Benfica. Let's get that right.
The one thing I don't know if it's true, but in the article when they're talking about Nelson coming back in the summer, it seemed like the message was that second division club, I think Nottingham in England, they'd like to keep him, but they're not being given the option to keep him. So maybe Benfica is seeing what he's doing. Maybe they want to give him a shot in the preseason again.
It's possible. It's possible. And there's money in England. Maybe not the championship clubs, but there's still money there. I think that Benfica will sell him for the right price.
Hey, Sergio Cabasso, I should say. Sergio Cabasso, at your boy Hodge on Twitter says, still annoyed with the way the Federação Portuguesa de Futebol laid out the Liga Jornada as it relates to the potential conflicts with UCL and Europa.
Well, I mean, Benfica plays on Tuesday. So it makes sense for Benfica to play on Friday so they could get that extra day. Yeah. Porto plays on Thursday, so I mean they're gonna get an extra day too. They need all the days that they could get actually. Porto does.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I'd be lying to you if I were to tell you I don't like it. I think that it's good for these leagues to try to give their teams an extra day's rest because don't forget, if these teams win, at least their leagues, the leagues that do help their own teams, if the teams win, it's only going to benefit their league going forward.
Absolutely.
So I'm totally in agreement with that, totally understand, and I'm glad that they do it.
There's nothing wrong with the leagues trying to help out their own clubs. And when the clubs are in agreement to bring forward the game or push the game, I don't have a problem with that. As long as they're both in agreement, I don't have a problem with that. I know it sucks for us here in a Western hemisphere that don't get to watch the game live because most of us will be working. But it does suck in that aspect. But it is what it is. If it's to benefit the clubs, I'm all for it.
One thing I was curious, did they ever announce the fixture for Braga in the League Cup? I know they had canceled that match because
they delayed it. They delayed it.
Yeah.
They've already announced the Sporting fixture, which comes up in 3 weeks, I think, or maybe 4 weeks. Maybe 3. I think it's 3 weeks. It's right after the Paços Ferreira game we play Sporting, or maybe after the Nacional. I'm not really sure. There's a Paços Ferreira Nacional or Nacional and Paços Ferreira and then Sporting, something like that. But they've already announced that. So, yeah, I mean, it's good that the league is announcing, especially for people that are traveling. And speaking of people that are traveling, Timo is traveling to Portugal on Thursday, so we wish him safe travels, and I hope that his presence at Estádio da Luz will bring Benfica luck on both the Porto game and the Zenit game. Big shout out to Timo. Cristiano, you wanna send a shout out to Timo or no?
Timo, barbudo. No, I'm not. I don't want to send him nothing. I'm jealous. I'm mad that he's going and I'm not going. So
He's meeting up with Patrick Kendrick.
Sorry, Patrick gave him an earful for me. Thank you, Patrick.
Hey, Timo, if you want to win over Patrick Kendrick's heart, just bring him some sugus. Caramels fruta.
Giving away my secrets to the trade, huh? That's messed up, man.
All right, guys. I think that's all we got. So Mario, don't forget to visit our friends over Mario over at planetbenfica.co.uk, their forums and their excellent website. Mario is give us your Twitter, Mario.
Yeah, at m.slb, so MDOT-SLB.
Yeah, and Mario, once again, congratulations to you and Cynthia for your newborn, and best of luck to that new Benfiquista. I know that we've said it a couple times here on the podcast, but I hadn't a chance to say it live to you, so I'm saying it now. So
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I got to say, one thing we keep joking about in the house, man, ever since she's been born, it's been just a hot streak of us winning and Porto Sporting screwing up. Like, the amount of points those two other clubs have dropped since she's been born is probably more than, like, some parts of my life.
Yeah.
So keep rubbing her before the game.
Yeah, Peggy and I have something going with Steve's kid, Sebastian. And I even compared him to Dom Sebastião, which is the king of Portugal. That they said that one day Sebastião would come from the fog to save Portugal. So they were only born like 10 days apart or something like that.
Yeah,
so
I think it's in the same week or so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big coincidence. Ugu, I know you're not that active on Twitter, but throw out your Twitter, bro.
Absolutely. It's H Destapado, which translates to the last name is uncovered. So thanks for having me on, guys, today. It's been fun.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And Ugu, once again, thanks for those prestige natas up in Connecticut, man.
Hopefully, I asked you guys the other day, like, if they were coming around. I think I asked Christian, and you guys said hopefully not. I was actually hoping they were.
I don't know. After everything that happened this preseason and the fact that a lot of people were saying that there wasn't Vitoria's plan to come to the States, I don't know if they'll be coming or not. Cristiano, at 10 CO10, what do you got to say to the peeps?
Nothing, man. Just thank you very much once again for tuning in, man. Share this with all your friends, family. Let's get this Benfica podcast Twitter account up and above the Lagartos and the Corruptos, all the other accounts that are up there. I mean, it's Benfica, for Christ's sake. Thanks for your support.
As always, thank you for your support. At Benfica Podcast is where you can find the Twitter, benficapodcast.com. I think I said it all. Thank you very much. Next week, as I've said, we will be back on Wednesday, not Tuesday. So after the Zenit game, we will be back to discuss the Zenit game and also to discuss the Porto game. We will then look ahead to União or Passo Ferreira, whoever we play. We'll have something.
Can I just say one last word real quickly, to joke a little bit with Chris on the podcast here. He's always a tough guy. He's a funny guy on the podcast, but and I know we were just joking a bit ago about the Asian jokes, but he's a big old teddy bear. He's doing some good charity work for some special needs children coming up, man. He's a good guy.
Thank you. Special Olympics, New Jersey Special Olympics. We're going to have a fundraiser, and every single cent that is earned that day will be donated to the New Jersey Special Olympics. Again, it's an event sponsored by the New York Giants, so it's going to be a great turnout. Thanks for mentioning, man. I mean, those kids deserve all the help that we can get them.
Chris, you got the website where people can go and donate?
You guys have to check me out on Twitter. I don't have it on me. I have to make sure I get to it.
Keep your eyes on Cristiano's timeline. All right, guys, thank you very much for being here. Ooh, great job. Mario, great job as always. Cristiano, great job this week. You didn't argue with Timo. So good job all around for everybody. All right, thank you very much, and I'll talk to you guys again next week, hopefully after a win this weekend. All right, everybody. See ya.